So now might be a good time to talk about this beautiful, beautiful oak. As I get closer, hopefully you can see it is festooned with acorns. Acorns have a very, very ancient strategy and a place in a lot of cultures' lives. So an acorn or an oak tree shedding acorns, nothing particularly unusual you might think about that. But let me explain to you a little bit about it. So these oak trees, timber is absolutely rated as stronger than structural steel by modern architects. They don't fruit, they don't create acorns every year. That takes a lot of resources. So every few years, they'll have gathered enough resources, enough energy, and now all of a sudden, not only them, but their surrounding ones. Yeah, one season they will all make fruit and drop the fruit. And that's a mast year. And what's been happening is, beneath our feet, there's a microbial, a fungicidal, oh look, another beech, copper beech, network of mycelium. And they're very, very hard to detect. They're disturbed very, very easily. They live in a symbiotic relationship with all of the plants that have got their roots in the soil. And they allow communication between the trees, between the plants, even this relatively young one here is coming into full mast. So the trees will communicate with each other. If there's a particularly virulent pest or a predator, that will be transmitted to the other oaks, to the other trees, and it will signal them to trigger the growth or the utilisation of a specific defence mechanism. Similarly, when the oak knows that it's got enough energy stored up in order to produce fruit, it will send that message out to the other oaks via the mycelium. And the mycelium don't do it for nothing. They get nurtured. The environment that they need to thrive is maintained. Going back to the point, once every 3 or 4 years, we'll have a mast year, and all of the oaks will grow and then drop acorns. Now, acorns have been known for a long time for their nutrition, for their carbohydrate value. Iberico ham, pigs are fed on acorns that they graze. You don't actually go and pick them to feed the pigs. They're well known by predators is where I'm going. So, if you're in a herd of 1,000 zebras and there's one cheetah chasing you or hunting for food, there's a 1 in 1,000 chance that it will pick on you. And the same thing applies with the oaks. You imagine, so 1,000's quite an easy number to get your head round, but you imagine how many times you'd have to multiply that by one oak tree, let alone woods full of oak trees. And there'll come a time when they'll all drop and the predators will come in and they'll have their fill, but there'll still be enough remaining unscavenged unplundered to ensure successive growth seasons. One of the amazing things about oak trees. And if you've listened to any of my previous videos, you'll know just how much I value oaks. And I'm hoping that in a little while, our walk will take us to an especially old oak tree. Let's wait and see. So oaks have got a long tradition in our history. Hunter-gatherers, and in times of poverty, in times of famine, the acorns were recognised as a resource, and they were gathered and processed. And some taste, if you don't mind me saying, absolutely foul. Some were sweet, and they'd be known. And it's quite an extensive process. What you do is you gather them, you take off the riney, almost shell-like outer shell, and you're left with a nut on the inside. Looks like another predator's been at prey, hijacking the acorns. And then what you do is you smash them up, not too fine, and you leach them. One of oak's defence mechanisms are tannins, which give you that dry, mouth puckering sensation when you eat them. So you'll put them in a bag that you might have made out of any number of wild fibres, and you'll dunk them in a stream for 2 or 3 days, and then you'll take them out, dry them, roast them, grind them into flour, and use the flour for whatever purpose you want. Interestingly, there's a tradition in Italy and Portugal of doing that with chestnuts. So for the chestnuts, the same as the acorns. And in North America, there's evidence that such trees were part of a natural pasture. And people would get right defensive about it. Right defensive about it. And there would be roots. Those roots would link up all of the available resources for the hunters and gatherers. Interestingly, there's a curled oak leaf. I wonder what's living in there. So enough about the oak for a little while. Let's carry on with the walk.